Today, we're getting into some really fascinating source material. It's titled The Hidden War for Your Soul, Babylon and the Remnant.
Hmm.
Our mission here is to unpack the insights from this source, particularly its ideas about an ancient spiritual war, and how it suggests modern systems of control trace back to Babylon. It talks about a coded battle for your mind, spirit, and identity. There's a line right near the start that really grabs you. What if most of what we were taught was built on the ruins of Babylon? But it also says this whole exploration is not about fear, it's about freedom, which is an interesting framing.
It really is. And what's key here, I think, is how the material uses Babylon. It's not just the ancient city. It's presented more as a symbol, maybe a blueprint for systems of control based on deception. The source really aims to sort of awaken the listener that's you and talks about this group it calls a remnant playing a key role right now. Just to be clear, we're exploring what the source claims, trying to understand its perspective, not necessarily saying we agree or disagree, just laying out its ideas.
All right, absolutely. So let's dive into that main claim first. The source says ancient Babylon laid the foundation for modern deception. How does it connect ancient history to, well, us now?
That's the core, isn't it? It argues Babylon wasn't just a place. It was, like you said, a blueprint for centralizing power, for spiritual manipulation, twisting truth. And the argument is that these patterns, these archetypes, weren't just lost to history. They were subtly embedded, passed down into later societies, influencing things like religious structures, maybe media narratives, political systems. Suggests these aren't random, but echoes of that original Babylonian design still shaping how we see things.
And that draws this really sharp line. It says, religion is not the same as divine connection. What's the difference it's highlighting there? Why is that so important to its argument?
Yeah, that's crucial. It frames divine connection as something innate, direct, a personal link to truth, accessible to everyone without needing an intermediary. Religion, on the other hand, is portrayed here as more of an institutional thing, something that, according to this source, can sometimes control or even block that direct connection, maybe through dogma, hierarchy, fear, essentially serving the system rather than, true spiritual freedom.
Okay, I see. And that connects to the idea of separation. The source mentions the phrase, come out of her, from Revelation 18.4. It interprets that as a call to separate from the system. What does that separation look like from this viewpoint?
Right. It sees coming out of her as a really profound call to actively disengage. Disengage from these systems of control. It links to Babylon cultural norms, religious dogma, media messages, whatever. It's not just physical, it suggests. It's more a spiritual unplugging from narratives designed to manipulate your view of reality and yourself.
Which brings up the remnant. What does the material say about the identity of the remnant and their awakening? Who are they, and how might you know if you're, awakening in this sense?
Well, it describes the remnant as people whose, let's say, inner discernment is kicking in, people starting to see through these hidden control systems. Their awakening is described as this process of spotting the deception, questioning what they've been taught, and trying to reconnect with that direct divine truth. The implication is, if these ideas resonate deeply with you, if you feel that pull, then perhaps, according to the source, you're part of this awakening group.
Are there specific signs it mentions, like signs that you are being called to separate from the system? What might someone notice in their own life?
It's not really a checklist, but it points to things like maybe a growing feeling of dissatisfaction with mainstream explanations, or feeling like you don't quite fit the standard mold, and intuition maybe that there's more going on than meets the eye. It frames these feelings not just as discontent, but as possible signs of a genuine call to step away and wake up.
So this all loops back to the title, doesn't it? The war for your soul and identity. That seems to be the driving force here.
Exactly. The whole narrative is built around uncovering these hidden truths as part of an ongoing war for your soul, for your true identity. The idea is that by understanding these systems it describes, you're not just learning things, you're actively reclaiming your authentic self, moving from, subtle control towards liberation.
Okay. This has been quite a journey through this material. We've touched on the source's view of deception's roots in Babylon, that stark difference between religion and divine connection, the call it sees to separate from the system, and this concept of the remnant and their awakening.
Yeah, and it ends on a pretty powerful note. The source affirms, you are not here by accident. The veil is lifting. The war is real, but so is the victory. You are not just surviving, you're awakening. Mm. So maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to ponder from this perspective. What beliefs or narratives in your own life might, if you look through this lens, seem influenced by these so-called Babylonian ruins? It encourages that kind of personal reflection on what feels like authentic truth versus maybe institutional stories, something to think about.